It's now my pleasure to bring to this stage Gaby Jordan. She is the CEO of Source Elements Group and founder of Human Better EDU, and she empowers executives and their teams to achieve exponential results by aligning cultures. With over 25 years of experience, she also passionately supports students, parents, and educators, bringing transformative tools to education. Gaby, guess what, y'all? She is also a former singing lawyer. What? Who still sings. So please help me welcome to the stage Gaby Jordan.
Hey. So, executive teams crush results when the team dynamic moves from we to me. And yes, you heard that right. So let's start with something we all know. I suck, you suck, we all suck in some way. And yet we walk around trying to pretend we're perfect. Somehow we think that power equals perfection. And maybe that's not the answer. Maybe that's not the answer. Maybe the breakthrough is actually looking at where we suck with a good sense of humor and evolving it from there. So it was September. We worked with a global company. Their purchase price on a $2 billion company was dependent on their success, and they were 25% behind, and they had 4 months to accomplish it. Now, do you think we worked on their sales target? No. We worked on the human stuff, the culture. We worked on the we, but first, the me inside the we, because that's where results happen. That's where the breakthrough happened. And what do you think happened? They did it. They succeeded. They met their goal, and they sold the company. Dream accomplished. So, what actually happened? Well, people started paying attention to where they could own whatever their parts were. They got real. They, instead of looking in the mirror and saying, when's the team going to get better? They said, what can I do? What can I do to actually shift results? And that's what starts happening. Magic starts happening when you start to have ownership like that. So we work with companies all over the world, large and small, Microsoft, Warner Records, a 3-person restaurant in Brooklyn. And in our nonprofit, as Casey mentioned, we teach all over the world, over 80 universities, from MIT to NYU to Stanford Business School to London School of Economics. I had the opportunity when I was teaching there to actually have Thanksgiving dinner with Mindy, because one time was over Thanksgiving. In any event. And we also work with students, professors, faculty, deans. Why? Because educational institutions are organizations, and organizations have people, and people need ownership, need design, need creating, and that's why we do that. So, why does that matter to you? Well, you might have a great product, a great service, and a dream, but if you have a team that's not aligned, no one will know, and that dream won't reach fruition, and the world won't know. You know, if you have a team that is gossiping, arguing, tense, not talking, silent, all of that gets in the way of the things that you want to produce. And for those of you who don't have teams, good news is it starts at the individual level. So all of those things that are relevant for the team starts at the individual level. In fact, when we go in and work in companies, we start with the individual, because you can't really produce a result for a team that you don't look at from an individual perspective first. So we get people connected, we get them moving, and then we create as a team. So there's an opportunity also for you as individuals. So let's play a little, shall we? So I'd love for each of you to think of one area in your life. The things, doesn't mean they're terrible. When I say things, it sucks, right? That's my sense of humor, because you need a big sense of humor, right? To shift anything in your life. So I'd like you to think of one area where things aren't quite working as well as you'd like, and maybe you have something to do with it. So for me, I like to be right, right? So it could be that, you're not great at apologizing. It could be that you don't maybe give credit where credit is due. It could be that you fuss about things. And as I said, for me, I like to be right, even where sometimes it doesn't help. So I'd love you to each think of one thing that you know about yourself that you could actually shift. So who'd like to say? It's audience participation. Please, Lucy.
Confidence.
Confidence. Okay, good. Someone else. Please.
Patience.
Patience. Oh, good. One more person. Mindy.
Details.
Details. Focusing on the details. Okay. So one area, right? And then the rest of you, I'm actually going to have you share it with somebody at your table, right? So just share the thing that it is so that you can see, okay, if I actually attended to this area, it would make a difference for me. I could actually shift, I could move something towards my dream. All right, so share to the person next to you. Okay, come on back. Come on back. Thank you, and thank you for playing. Thank you for being willing to look at where you might not be as great as you'd like to be, because that's where it begins. And what do you do with that, right? So what changed from the organizations where they were looking at the team and then looked at themselves? They started to see, where are things not what I'd like them to be? So for each of you, you can actually walk away with, okay, if this is an area I'm working on, if this is an area I'd like to improve, what's my dream? What's my goal that I'd like to have? We actually have a 4-part success framework. So that is, there's a clear and specific goal that you're going for. You make a promise about what you're going to do to shift that thing. Specific, quantifiable, in a dimension of time. You have an incentive that actually holds you to account, inspires you to do the thing that you say, and then you find someone to hold you accountable. A friend, a buddy, a coach. You use that, and then you can shift yourself up the scale in that area for you in your life, okay? So that's a little tip and a gift for you to walk away with. So what happens in the companies? Well, we bring ownership, responsibility, awareness, champion conversations, a sense of humor, and all of that starts to shift the culture. It's where you start looking at the me inside the we. And so we take those tools, and later on, I think you'll be getting a little gift from each of us, and mine includes practical strategies for accelerating your team's results. And all of those tools are inside of that as well. And we couple that with the 4 C's for culture. Connect, clear the air, champion conversations, and create. So when you get people connected in a way that they're not typically connected, when they get to know each other as human beings, they start producing exponential results. It's amazing. You then have people clear the air. You know those conversations you think, why do I need to have them? It happened, it was the past. It's important for you to get that stuff resolved. Champion conversations. You actually champion that people are in communication, that people are not acting in silos. And then we also give you a framework for actually how to have those conversations. And once that's all done, you create the future. You create the future having created a foundation where people can actually know each other, be responsible, have communication. Little story. We were in South Africa last year, leading one of our champion workshops. And the executive team had not dealt with an issue for 6 months. There was something that was going on that they had not dealt with for 6 months. On the first break, in 15 minutes, they resolved that issue that they hadn't dealt with. Why? Because they had permission, they had a structure, they had connection with one another to actually take that on. It was amazing. And by the way, it wasn't even on the agenda. That's what happened when people are connected in a different kind of way. And that's what happens to move things forward and create exponential results. So I'd like you to think about If you could walk out of here, and those, again, those of you who don't have teams, equally relevant, because you may have a family, you may have a community, you may have your church, some group that it's all relevant. It still applies. Having these concepts actually makes a difference in you creating the results you want in your life. So I'd like you to imagine, for those of you who do have a team, or even a team of individuals that you connect with, what would happen if conversations happened the way they should happen, if people actually had the communication that's currently missing, if people looked at what's a dream that you might have given up on, what's a relationship that might not be the one that you'd like, what would happen? What kind of freedom could you actually have if those things happened? How would you feel? I'd love you to live in that question for a moment and consider that might be incentive for you to actually take on the things that you haven't taken on yet. So, quick story that I'll leave you with is that 6 years ago, I met a half-brother and a half-sister that I didn't know, who didn't know each other, and we all met on the same day. And I'm currently finishing Casey mentioned I'm a singer, I'm currently finishing my 3rd CD, and who's doing the music for that CD is my ex-husband. My current husband is singing on the CD. They love to commiserate about how hard it is to be married to Gaby Jordan. I agree. And why I share those things with you is because when you lead with lightness, love, communication, sense of humor, you create results that leave people speechless. And I invite you to take a look and see what results you'd like to create in your life. And I look forward to hearing what you do create. And I thank you for your time.